Hey squad, what's going on? Rich Ryan here. Today, we're talking about the absolute worst station in Hyrox. That's the burpee broad jumps. In this video, I'm gonna give you 4 different methods that you can use to hopefully make this suck a little bit less. I'm also going to talk about which type of athlete should use which style of burpee broad jump to maximize their performance. So before we get into it, if this is content that you like, Hyrox training, DecaFit training, hybrid racing in general, hit me with subscribe so you don't miss any of the videos that are coming your way, and share this with a friend if they also want to make burpee broad jumps a little bit easier. All right, into it we go. So first thing is that there's no perfect way to do the burpee broad jumps. You might see some of the elite athletes kind of all leaning toward one method or another, but it is very much dependent on who you are as an athlete and how you've executed your race up until this point. So the first method I'm going to talk about is hopping back and hopping forward. So this is going to be the fastest way to get the burpee broad jumps done. However, it's also the most taxing. So I would suggest that a very fit person who has some Hyrox experience use this method. If not, you might put yourself over the top and not be able to come out of the burpee broad jumps with your respiration rate in an appropriate way. So you might come out and you need to recover after all of that speed getting through it. A big benefit of this is that you can jump back as fast as possible. And when you jump forward, you have some elastic energy to help spring yourself forward. However, if you maintain yourself in this crouched position, it's going to be much more taxing on like your hip flexors and your quads because it's going to stay in flexion the whole time. Your chest is forward and it's going to be really taxing there. So you might feel some cramping come on, which might go away during that run or the next station. But this is really not something you want this early in the race. So unless you have a lot of volume and you're extremely fit, and you know this is a method that's going to work for you, I would not suggest it. It may be the most intuitive way to do a burpee broad jump, but it's going to be the most costly. The second method is one that we're going to see most often is the hop back and step forward method. This is very effective for athletes who are a little bit taller, a little bit longer, who don't want to jump as far using a lot of that elastic energy or explosive energy. Stepping forward is going to create some momentum to allow you to kind of swing into your jump. And because of that, you're going to save yourself some energy, and it's going to be a little bit slower than the hop back, hop forward, because you're stepping forward and it's giving you a little bit of time to collect yourself in that stepping up and going forward. So this method is also the easiest to fudge. It's the hardest for the judges to see if you're hitting the standard. So for that reason, I would be very careful with this. As this sport progresses and grows, this station in particular, they're going to crack down on the standards much, much more. And even though in the rules, there is nothing that states you can't stagger your stance when you are stepping forward, it's more likely that you will have your trail leg step in front of your front leg. And the judges are calling that these days. They don't want to see that stagger. They want to see both the feet in line. Also, when you're hopping your feet backwards, it can be easy to kind of jump your hands forward, and judges don't want to see that either. And when it's going so fast, they're having a hard time figuring out if you're meeting the actual standard of the burpee broad jump. So for this reason, you're really going to have to work on your timing in training to make sure that that back trail leg is meeting that front leg at the exact same position. If it's coming forward at all, you're probably going to get called on it, and it's going to slow things down. If you need to step your foot forward and look at your feet to see if they're in place, you're losing that momentum that I talked about before, and then it's not really that beneficial for you. So I suggest taking what feels like a 3/4 step with that trail leg to meet that front leg. To me, that seems like an easier way to match the timing and to really hit this standard, where if it feels like I'm taking a full step, I almost always end up going beyond my front leg. So this method, it is fast, but again, it's easy to not hit the standard, and you're probably going to get called on it. So really practice this so that you can make sure you are doing exactly what you need to do to make the judges happy, and so you're not thinking about not hitting the standard, and that you can get through this station appropriately. The third method is to step back and hop forward. So we're kind of flipping the previous. And how it benefits is that you get a chance to slow yourself down while stepping backwards. And stepping backwards, it might be a little bit more costly and lowering yourself down than just using gravity to kind of flop yourself onto the ground, but it's slower. It's going to keep your respiration rate a little bit more in check. And if you feel like you are a more athletic style of athlete, maybe you come from some sort of ball sport that's a little bit more explosive, you want to use that stretch reflex as you jump forward to help yourself continue to go forward. You get a little bit of free energy when you jump forward in your Achilles, and it helps you pop forward a little bit faster. This is going to be a little more costly than stepping forward, but it's also more accurate. The judges really like this style because you can, as you step backwards, they can see where your hands are to your feet. And when you're jumping forward, you're not going to stagger. So I think this is a very effective way to go through the burpee broad jumps and making it a little bit quicker on that jump. And if you are an athlete who wants to jump through the burpee broad jumps, this is a really great method to not over rev yourself. If you're hopping back, hopping forward, it's real easy to get your breathing rate high and to come out of it feeling completely gassed. This gives you a little bit of slowing down and control in your burpee broad jumps while still being able to use your athleticism to move it through. So again, if you're an athlete who likes to jump forward and wants to maximize that jump and not necessarily need to do more burpees and like the pressing and hitting the ground, this is an outstanding method. But again, it's a little more costly than the step forward, but a little less costly than the hop forward. The final method, you might have put all these pieces together by this point. It is stepping back, stepping forward. So this is by far going to be the slowest way to do the burpee broad jumps. However, it is so much better to get through the burpee broad jumps with consistency than with speed for like half of it and then feeling gassed, or to come out of it and feel drained. Also, this is a point of the race where a lot of athletes are kind of over revved. They've done too much on the sleds, they've done too much on the running, they skied too hard. So they get to this point and then it's almost like the race is over. But if you use this method of stepping back, stepping forward, you can get your breath back a little bit. There's still a lot of race left. So you need to have things in control. And this is a way to control it, where you can really slow things down and still continuously move. The caveat with stepping back and stepping forward is that you can't rest. You should not stop. You shouldn't come down to your knees. You shouldn't rest on the ground. You need to kind of keep moving through it so you be consistent throughout the entire duration of the burpee broad jumps. Having this method in your back pocket and being willing to use it during the burpee broad jumps is a great way to manage your race. It doesn't need to be one method or another. It could be a mixture of all of them. Typically, when I'm doing it, I will mix all 3 or 4 of these and just making sure that I'm continuing to move. Seeing how if my respiration rate gets too high, I'm stepping back. If I'm feeling okay and want to get a couple faster reps in, I'll jump forward and I'll jump out, or I'll jump back and jump forward. And so I use a lot of these different ones. There's not one best way. The best way to do the burpee broad jumps in a fast time is to keep moving. So if that's one specific method to do it, then do that. Or if it's a mixture of all of them, make sure you're practicing all of them so you have them to do during the event, as long as you're not stopping. If like you're jumping forward each time and you just can't wrap your head around doing one more rep, then slow it down. Step back and step forward. So I appreciate you taking the time watching this videos. If you like this type of content, hit me with a like, hit me with a subscribe, share this with some friends. Make sure you're taking a look at some of the programs that we have here at Reinforced Running. We have 12-week training programs for Hyrox and DecaFit, plus an ongoing group training model that helps build through progressions to get you the best and most fit that you can possibly be for a Hyrox event. All right, I'll talk to you soon.